Welcome to Race Face TV. I'm Christian Trinidad. Rod Wortham is under the weather, so I'll be holding down the fort in his absence. We have a special episode for you this week where we'll take a look back at some early in the season interviews with our Race Face drivers. We'll begin this show with an interview with Lauren Rainier and Sam Mayer, who's had quite an impressive 2017 season.
Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right. How are you doing tonight, Sam?
I'm doing well.
Well, good, man. Good to have you on board. So you're coming to us where at in Wisconsin?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know Lauren's in Charlotte, North Carolina. So, Sam, I got a quick question for you. How long have you actually been racing? When did you get started?
This will be my 10th year. I started when I was 4, so.
Started when you were 4, man. I don't know a whole lot of kids that start when they're 4 years old, but that's what it takes today, right, Lauren, to get started at that young age?
Well, it does take you need to start at an early age. I mean, 4 is really pushing it, I would say, but starting early, learning the basics of racing early definitely gives you an advantage, no question about it.
So, Sam, you're 13 now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's been going on this year so far? What races have you competed in, and how have you been finishing?
Earlier in the year, like in January, February, we were down in Charlotte, North Carolina, doing the winter heat in the legend cars. After that, we went down to Florida and over to Vegas, along with Texas, to do some more legend cars. Then we got into the late model and went down to Greenville twice, and one of those I won.
Well, I know that. I saw all the breaking news about that, and I know, Lauren, you can comment on that. That what a historic racetrack there in Greenville Pickens Speedway. I think probably anybody who's everybody has actually raced at that track sometime in their NASCAR career.
Well, it is a historic place and a really neat place to have your first stock car race with the history of the place. And then, Sam being able to win his first race is kind of historic as well. Pretty hard to do right out of the box when your first stock car race. But he's been kind of setting records and legends all year this year with the Winter Heat Championship, and then he had basically, he's only lost a couple of races this year. And so he's been kind of tearing it up in the Legends car, and then now we're starting to phase into the stock car stuff. Actually, starting this weekend, he's going to another historic track at Hickory, North Carolina, and he's going to run a limited late model there. And he's going to run the limited up until June and his birthday, and then after he turns 14, then he can go ahead and run full late models after he turns 14. So that's kind of what we're gearing up for is the late model stuff, and really it'll start in July, and then he can hit it pretty hard from that point on.
So, Sam, I got a quick question for you. What's it like working with Lauren? I mean, you gotta know that he's worked with some of the best drivers in the industry. So, what does it feel like to get to work with somebody like him?
Knowing Lauren, he's a really good development person. He knows what he's doing and knows when to move people up to the next step. Being with him has helped me a lot. Just getting through all the legends and getting into stock cars now. He's just giving me the right path to go up to the Cup.
Well, that's pretty cool. So I know you've gotten to race in a whole lot of different places. Do you have one that sticks out as your favorite place to go race at?
Well, for the legend cars, we went over to Dominion in Virginia for the Road Course Nationals in the legend car. It's 2.5 miles, and I liked it a lot. I ended up placing second there. It's just it's so fast. You hit 135, and I just thought that was my favorite track of all time.
So, Lauren, I got another question for you. What did you see in Sam? What made you get kind of drawn to him, and what's that little edge that he may have over maybe some other drivers that are out there?
Well, there's a couple things. I got introduced to Sam when he was 11 by a good friend of our mutual friend that we have. And so at that point, I didn't really know, other than I knew that he was one of the top junior karters in the country. and that's that's a very competitive level of racing. There's thousands of junior karters in the country, and Sam was at the top level of the juniors. 10, 11, 12-year-old kids. That's very competitive throughout the country. So I knew that coming down here, you had a lot of ability. It's just a matter, could that ability translate? Could we get him going into oval racing? And we felt like the Legends car would be the best place for him to make a transition from karting to cars. So, and once we did the first Legends test, I was like 11 years old. I was like, well, this kid definitely has talent to drive a race cars. Absolutely no question about that. So we just kind of let him go through the learning curve. The first year it took him a little bit to get up to where he could run in the top 5, and then kind of once he did that, he started to break through and started to win, and now he's winning, basically everywhere he goes against the young line division. That's kids under 16. So he's basically the best young lines Legends racer in the country. So his progression went really fast from a top junior karter to the top Legends driver at his level. So that went pretty fast. So we're hoping that we can do the same thing in late models and let his progression go right, the same speed and the same way up. And I think, so far so good. We've made some pretty good decisions, and he's in good cars with good teams, and so we're happy with where he is right now at his stage of development at 13 years old.
Well, that's got to be exciting for you, Sam. Let me ask you something. What was the biggest change for you, or the biggest adjustment that you had to make the first time you got out of that Legend car and then stepped into that late model car? What was that like?
The biggest thing was probably the power steering. Just getting used to the bigger car too, like getting used to getting that close to the wall in that big of a car because it's so much wider. You have to get used to like where you are on the racetrack. Like same with like at Greenville, there's an inside wall going through the corner. You have to get used to hitting that wall like every time consistently and smoothly, because if you do that, you're fast.
Well, you could be like Kyle Larson. You could go through and scrape it every time you go by. I'm not sure that'd make the car owner real happy, but so I know, Sam, that your dad has played a big part in your racing career and moving forward. And could you share a little bit how supportive that your dad has been and helping you to be able to progress?
He started me like in the karting and got me to Badger Kart Club, the local racetrack. After that, I got picked up by a karting team, and I started going all over the world with them, all over the country. Like we went over to World Nationals in France, Le Mans, France, and ever since then, I've just been getting more and more like used to the cars as I kept going through the steps. But the late models have definitely been a change for me.
So what's it like? I mean, you're 13 years old, you're flying all over the country. One weekend you're here, the next weekend you're there. I mean, how are you balancing all of that with your schoolwork and different things like that? I know the video we saw at the beginning talked a little bit about that, but is that a challenge for you to try to kind of balance your life out right now when you're basically traveling all over the country?
It is very hard. Like just getting used to like leaving like every Thursday or even Friday, or being gone like all week. It's a challenge, but I go to a really like good school that understands like what I'm doing, and they support me through like all my racing and stuff.
Well, Lauren, I know that you've got to be excited about working with him. And what do you see, if you had your crystal ball sitting there in front of you, where do you see Sam at in the next few years?
Well, he's got a long road to go, if we're going to do this right. And then, and then a lot of it's up to him, really, as far as how he progresses in these, as we move up with these series, he'll go from late models, late model stocks to super late models, then hopefully on into K&N and ARCA short track racing. So, we'll make decisions then on how his next steps look. And then obviously he can't do anything in the top 3 NASCAR series until he turns 18 years old. So, we're several years away from that. So the development process for Sam's is going to be in full force over the next 3 or 4 years. So, ultimately when he turns 18, we'd like to see him in the NASCAR Truck Series or the Xfinity Series. And then at that point, then it's just, it's going to be seriously up to him if he makes that next step beyond that. So a lot of short track racing is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years with what he's doing, right now.
What a great interview with Sam and Lauren. We can't wait to see what Sam does in 2018. Coming up after the break, we'll have another young, exciting driver, Garret Manes.
I'm JDRF.
I am JDRF. I'm JDRF because...
I am JDRF.
Because... Type 1 diabetes is hard. I am JDRF because I advocate.
Because I am helping research progress.
Because I am part of a community of hope.
Because I believe we can find a cure.
I'm JDRF because we're gonna beat this.
Type 1 diabetes won't hold me back.
We are JDRF.
We are JDRF because we do big things.
We are JDRF
Because they're the ones at the front lines doing what we need.
every morning when I wake up. I am JDRF.
I am JDRF because I want an artificial pancreas. Because I am the mother of a type 1.
Because I'm a fighter. Because I believe in them.
Because I want my kids to say they used to have diabetes.
Because I want to help others.
Because I believe we're all working together.
Because together we can build a community.
Helping to just raise awareness for type 1 diabetes.
I am JDRF because I want to see a world where type 1 becomes
Type 9 diabetes. I am JDRF because I want a cure.
Hi, I'm Rod Wortham with Raceface Brand Development, the home of Raceface University. I have a question for you. Beside me, there are 2 boxes. One has a set of new tires in it, and the other a notebook with over 100 years of combined experience and successes in driver development, coaching, media, marketing, and branding. Which one would you choose? If you selected box 1, then I hope that set of new tires will carry you through the entire 2018 season. If you pick number 2, then I encourage you to check out racefaceuniversity.com, where you will find an opportunity that might change your racing career forever. It's all up to you.
Welcome back to Raceface TV. Garret Manes was diagnosed on the spectrum of autism at an early age. Despite the diagnosis, it has not slowed him down on the track. Let's take a look at this impressive young man.
Hi, I'm Garret Manes, sponsored by Enlight. We're here in Dallas, Texas for the red carpet world premiere of Light Up to Live. In Charlotte, I had a collarbone broken. I had surgery on it, and I lost feeling all the way down to about halfway down between my elbow and my shoulder. So I didn't have feeling, and the doctors told me I never would. And they put me on the lights, and I regained the feeling. They sponsored me down in Charlotte for Legends Racing, and that's where it all started. Well, our goal is to move through the ranks of NASCAR and bring exposure to the troops and PTSD and TBI, what Enlight can do for them and how it can change their lives and bring them back. And since being diagnosed on the spectrum of autism at age 2, it's very close to my heart. As I travel around the country racing, I race for the cause.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that last video that we saw that's a little bit of an introduction to our next guest, 16-year-old Garret Manes, who is joining us from up in Virginia. Garret, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're really happy that you're here. So I can see that you've got some simulators set behind you. So let's kind of start there, because I know that you're a big iRacer. So tell us a little bit about how iRacing has helped you with your career.
Well, I've been on there pretty much 24/7 whenever I get a chance. It's really taught me pretty much most of what I know. It's the main source of a lot of my experience. It's given me a feel for a ton of different cars and the way they handle. It's just given me a feel for different things that I haven't had the opportunity to drive yet.
Well, let me ask you something about the tracks. Now, we had Ty Majeski on last week, and Ty and I was talking a little bit about the iRacing experience and everything. So when you race on iRacing and then you go to a track that you've raced on, does it really help you out when you get there? Does it have a lot of the same similarities?
The tracks have a lot of the same similarities, but it comes down to, did you learn it correctly by yourself? Because like when I went to the bull ring, for example, that was like my favorite track on iRacing before I even went there in the legend car. But when I came back from the bull ring and tried to race it on iRacing, it completely changed the way I did it. And I picked up, and I was literally the guy to beat all of a sudden. It just changed the way I drove the track, changed my line, and it gave me a killer run off the corners.
Okay, I got you now. So let's talk a little bit about your 2017 racing season this year. Give us some highlights of what's been going on. What have you been racing? The different types of cars, and give us some of your results, because I know you've been winning out there.
Well, we started off with arena racing earlier in the spring. That went really well. We won a ton of races. We swept a lot of nights with the A-Main and the Top Dog wins. We almost won the championship. We ended up finishing second, but we had really strong finishes. We actually missed a week, that killed our chances at it. But we were very close considering. We came within, I think, 10 points, being 30 points down. So we're happy with that. After that, we moved on to the legend cars at Charlotte for the summer shootout. We started off really strong. We were on the pole the first 2 nights, with the invert. When everybody's right there in the same time frame, it's really hard to get by people there. But in the rain, same scenario. We got inverted. We got stuck where we were. It was a single lane at the high line. And I ended up following the leader down into the corner a little bit lower than where the dry stuff was. I slid up just enough, and when I got on the brakes, the guy behind me didn't push us into the car in front of us. It broke the right front. But for the rest of the season, we learned from our mistakes. We continued on. We found a lot of speed. We picked up some time. We were competitive in the races.
Well, that's the main thing. So I think we're going to go right now, and we're going to take a look at a video from the Charlotte shootout where you actually got on your lid a little bit. So let's take a look at that video, and then we'll be back and ask you some questions about that.
Battling at the front of the field, Talladega, Daytona, and the quarter mile at Charlotte. The only 3 tracks in America where you can pull that one off.
I wouldn't have added the third one to it until I just saw it with my own 2 eyes. And they're still not done. Garret Manes up and over a trial ride here at the front stretch.
Holy mackerel. Believe he went over at least 3 times in a barrel roll. Garret Manes going to walk to the ambulance. Here's a replay on it. Over once, twice, 3 times. And wow, he walked away from that race car.
Manes crosses the stripe while they race behind him. They'll all see popsicle sticks, 2 furled flags in the air. Kyle McGowan, now just a lap and a half remaining for Garret Manes. Again, a week ago, right here in turn 4 was on his lid. Now he's 1 lap away from victory in the Bojangles Summer Shootout.
Garret Manes sets that car down into turn number 1. Left side tires touches the white line. Now onto the back straightaway for the final time. Has a 2-car length, a 3-car length advantage. Back down to 2 car lengths. He wadded it up last week, and he's going to victory lane tonight, winning the VP Racing Fuels Legends Car Semi-Pro feature.
Come on over here, young man. We're going to chat a little bit. This is going to be awesome.
Well, Garrett, that had to be an exciting adventure there on your lid. Tell us a little bit about that wreck and what happened.
From what I remember, it was a hard battle. The racing had got really close there for the last couple laps. We were 3 wide down the straightaway, I think like 2 rows deep. It's very uncommon at Charlotte. That is not something you want to see as a driver, but it was definitely exciting to watch the replay. Right as it started to get sorted out, the racing got really tight into the corners. And, I pushed up just a hair. He came down just a hair. The contact made him lose. He came down, clipped me. I came up, clipped his front nose, and I mean, it was on from there. Really, everybody asked me, how did it feel? What was it like flipping? I'm like, I don't know. I closed my eyes for it.
Well, you hear a lot of the guys talk about the flipping, and they said the flipping isn't that bad. The scary part is when everything goes silent, and that's when you kind of know I'm in the air. And so, the cool thing about that video, that I think the tagline on the video is "What a difference a week makes." So you come back the next week, right? And tell us what happened.
We had a completely new car. I mean, that wreck literally totaled it from motor to chassis to every other part on the car. I pretty much got out with my seat and my steering wheel. That was all that was left. But we got in the new car. We shook it down the next week. We luckily just scuffed tires the week prior, so we had pretty good tires to be racing on. I think it gave me something to shoot for. Like, we were so close the week before. We had an unfortunate ending, but let's go redeem ourselves.
Well, that's pretty cool. So that should teach whoever told you, bring me the checkers or the steering wheel.
Yeah, that's literal right there.
There you go. So that's exactly what happened there. So a little bit of legend racing. You're doing the arena racing. What is your focus right now? So looking forward to 2018, where do you see yourself?
Well, I think our goal for 2018 is to get into late model stock cars, to really move up into bigger vehicles, get some experience in big cars, to get you some experience with the higher horsepower, the power steering, because I've tested a late model one time before, and that is one of the biggest things that changes from a legend car or a mini cup. The power steering completely changes the way you work the wheel.
So I understand you've done some testing in a truck so far, and I was also told that went pretty well.
Yes, we went down to run the Auburndale race. I feel like it's called the Joey Cutler's 200. It's a charity race at Auburndale Speedway. It was in a pro truck, and the first night out, I think we were 4th fastest, and I'd never been in a truck before, so we were very happy with that. We went on the next day to pick up even more time. We were in the competitive time zone. Like they said, if you can run this time, that you can win the race.
And so you were there, first time out. That's pretty impressive. So let's get a little bit personal here for just a couple of minutes. At a very young age, you were diagnosed with having autism, and I know that's become a big part of your wanting to give back and raise awareness, if you would, from autism. So share with us a little bit about that experience and where your focus lies with that.
Well, when I was 3, I was diagnosed on the spectrum of autism. I mean, ever since then, I really didn't know what it was at that time. It took me a while to even, realize that, I had the symptoms of it. I just never really paid attention to it and never let it slow me down. But it definitely had social impacts on me. It still does today. But I haven't let it stop me from racing. It's helped me excel, I believe. It's really given me the focus. It's given me something to shoot for with my racing.
Well, I think that's awesome. A lot of people come down with different things, and stuff happens to all of us, but a lot of people kind of crawl into a shell and then want to look at things and say, oh, well, I can't do this because of that. But to me, it looks like you've done absolutely the opposite. You've taken something, you've made the best out of it, and I'm going to just be truthful with you. The people that I've talked to over the last few days says, this young man is the real deal. And that's a great compliment, and I really applaud you for attacking it that way, if you would.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been trying to, get my skills toned in for future races. Just really been trying to really show that we have what it takes, and to really represent that, autism doesn't have to stop you from doing what you love. I mean, with me, racing, it's the one thing I truly enjoy.
And I know that you've got some pretty good sponsors that you're already lined up with. So share a little bit with us about some of the sponsors that you're currently working with.
Well, right now we're working with Pearson Mazda. That's a local one here for us. They've sponsored us in arena racing for many years. Inlight Medical, we met them with that interview in Texas. That was where we actually met the people with Inlight. And that's where it really took off for us there. They've done a lot of stuff for us through sponsorship, really getting us off on our feet for future events. CBD Living Water just flew me out for the Legends race at the Bull Ring. I really appreciate what they did there for me. It's just been a great experience.
Well, that's pretty cool. I did a little research on the light therapy, and that just amazed me. And we talked a little bit before the show off camera, and you were sharing with me how much difference that actually made. So, you know what? It's good that they've done that for you, but I think you're going to be able to do great things for them to basically help them go out and get more exposure about how that therapy actually really helped you through the healing process. And I guess it's still helping you today.
Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time. I mean, if I think I'm going into a really tough race or I'm really going to need the mental focus, I'll put them on. I'll sit there on them while I'm racing. I'll put them on the setting that we found the most helpful, and I'll go out there and race with it.
Garret is such an inspiration. That's it for this week's show, but don't forget, starting November 15th, we'll be doing our Track of the Week segment where we highlight some of the historic short tracks around the country. Rod, we hope you feel better. As he always says, don't forget to go out to your local track and support local racing. Guys, have a great race weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, then click on subscribe. Want to catch up on some episodes that you might have missed? Then tap on demand. That's it for this week, and as always, go out and support racing at your local track.